Hello everybody and welcome to yet another episode of the Special Needs Supermom podcast. I am Nadine and in this episode I talk about if a symptom of your neurodiversity or your disease is something you really suffer from, or is something that is kind of locked in your brain because people say you should suffer from it. Example. For myself, I'm a severe asthmatic, and I'm sorry if I don't have my normal ADHD tone of voice, but I had a big asthma attack the other day, which turned out to be COVID. So heavily medicated, but ready to roll, just on a slower pace than normal. But some time ago, really nice warm weather, and I was really looking forward to go for a run. And a friend of mine said, "Oh, but you should stay indoors, because haven't you heard there is a smog alarm?" And they said that people that are older, and asthmatic, that's really dangerous, so you should really stay inside. And every time there is fog outside, my mom, still 46, will call me saying, "You better stay inside, right, today, because if there's fog, all the pollution is in the air and hanging there, and way worse for your asthma. And you should wear a scarf to protect yourself." And I went for a run, despite the warning. Why? Well, besides the fact that I'm an experienced runner, and I'm an experienced runner in heat, because I used to live in Kansas, and in the summertime it's like 90 degrees at 6 a.m. in the morning. So, can it be dangerous? And can it provoke an attack? Yes. Does it have to be that for every asthmatic out there? No. Another example. Besides being asthmatic, I'm severely allergic to a gazillion things. Hence why my husband is bald, because then I can't react to him. One of the things I'm allergic to is grass pollen, like so many of us. But because of that, the moment I smell fresh grass, I instantly, for years, have been going, this is my first reaction, that I go like, so I instantly start inhaling, not so deep, and breathing, not deep, but shallow, really, and I kind of squeeze everything together. So, making it worse to breathe. But it wasn't the allergies, or because I just went completely tense and started to breathe not in the right way. And this is something my breathing therapist I go to every so many years told me, or no, pointed out to me, because I said, yeah, at the moment it's really bad, because everybody's, mowing their lawn, and my first reaction is panic mode. And she said, but that's an interesting fact. So your first reaction, you smell it, and even before you get a real allergic reaction, you tense up. So could this be something? And it was hard to let go of. And am I allergic to grass? Yes, still. But nowadays, if I smell it, and I can smell freshly mown grass from miles away, I don't get a severe I don't have difficulty breathing immediately. Why? Because I stopped tensing up. Another example. Wonderboy is autistic. And for many years, and still to this day, people question him being autistic because he's so social. He is so nice. If he could, he would save the world. And because he is in that way social, people assume he's not autistic. The funny thing is, because people kept saying that, and because, we're a big fan of the Big Ring Theory and young Sheldon, about a group of nerds, and the main character, well, for us the main character is Sheldon, and he is almost a classic autistic person, I would say. What we think of, what most people think of when it comes to autism, have no sense for other people's feelings, are not sensitive to sarcasm or picking up emotions. Pepin, however, is. But because of that, and the signals you hear, and because what people said, nowadays Pepin keeps saying, I'm really socially awkward. Well, he isn't. But somewhere in his head, he made himself think, but I'm really socially awkward. I'm not good with people. He's great with people. He has friends. Yes, they're mostly online. Doesn't matter. He is the problem solver. He's the one all his friends talk to if there's something going on. And also outdoors. He's the guy, he doesn't chit-chat about soccer. Because, hey, it's a sport. But, he's the first one noticing that I'm upset with something or I don't feel well. He's the first that will notice anybody really that they're not feeling well. And he's like, I think you need a hug. So, socially awkward? Yeah, maybe in the fact that in a way that he doesn't know how to chit-chat. But picking up other people's emotions. Talkative? Totally. Third example. Supergirl has juvenile arthritis, and one of the first medications she started on is methotrexate. And methotrexate has the color yellow if you have the injectable. She got weekly injections. And yes, she got at a certain moment couldn't deal with the injections anymore because they were so painful, and they didn't work enough anymore. So we had to switch. But was something that was really interesting is that the color yellow, like I mentioned, the first time we went to a juvenile arthritis camp, and she was about 10 or 11 years old, suddenly she heard kids talk about being allergic to the color yellow. Since she can't stand the color yellow. Funny fact, like I have here, she has a bright yellow wall in her bedroom. And we moved, 3 years ago, and she freshly painted. It wasn't like, we didn't want to. She was like frustrated about the colors in her bedroom, and we didn't want to paint them over. No. She stopped using the meds years ago, the methotrexate. We moved. She painted the biggest wall in her bedroom yellow. And the same goes for before that in our old house. Same thing. So, really allergic to the color yellow, or because somebody said something about it. It doesn't, with this, I don't want to, brush it off. Yes, there are autistic kids that really have a hard time with social cues. Yes, there are really kids and adults that can't stand the color yellow anymore because of the severe side effects of the methotrexate. Seriously, you need university just to pronounce names of the disease and the medications of your kids sometimes. And that's the same with all kinds of stuff. So yes, there are a lot of things, your kids can find difficult to deal with, or you can find difficult to deal with. But not every side effect will automatically apply to you or your kids. Sometimes the pressure of society, or because people keep on saying you should be like this or this should be a problem, suddenly it's like in your head, well, if everybody, especially when you're younger, if everybody keeps saying it's a problem, it will become a problem. I've been, oh horror. My mom was really overprotective. So why I say oh horror, because we recognize something. My mom was really overprotective with me because with my asthma I got sick at the age of 4, and I could get really sick. I was in hospital a few times, and it was really touch and go, guys, girls. Thanks to modern medicine, people with asthma now just can, have a long life. Maybe not always, but the majority can. And I run. Not always. Twice a year I've got a really bad episode, and I can't. But for the rest. And but the fact that my mom was always, adamant about if there was freshly mowed grass, she would have me indoors. In the winter, I wasn't allowed to cycle. And in the Netherlands, you cycle to your high school. You cycle to school. Because at the age of 12, I ended up in a hospital with a pneumonia. And she just wanted to protect me. To this day, I hate going by bus in the winter. I seriously still hate it. The fact was, the intention was good, of course. But my mom is still like, ooh, it's cold outside. That is dangerous. While, especially when it's freezing outside, it's the best climate for my lungs. I can get lost during a run for an extra hour. Yeah, I've got ADHD, no sense of direction. If there's a new city, I will get lost. And even in my old cities, I can get lost. But I can go on and on forever. The same if I go to the mountains. Because it's higher, the air is maybe thinner, but more clean. And the same if I go to the sea, to the ocean. And with Supergirl as well. She had the side effect of the color, but really, she never mentioned it until it was mentioned. Wonderboy at the moment is really struggling. Well, we were always, we're really open about everything we have. And that there's no problem. And we joke about all the quirky, weird things we have. And I often joke about him, because he has autism and ADHD. But there's this belief that autistic people, really have a set system and therefore are clean and tidy. Well, he has a system somewhere in what I think is a mess. But, so sometimes I joke about him. Why don't you have the compulsive cleaning autistic side of things? And he's like, yeah, Mom, I still don't see the problem because there is a system in this chaos. So, try to, if your kid is struggling with something, if you are struggling, if you feel you're getting tense in a certain situation, if your kid tenses up in a certain situation, is it because, there really is an allergic response, for instance, or it really indeed is really hard? Or is it something that used to not be a problem, but suddenly became a problem because everybody made it a problem. That's my food for thought for today. Let me know, did you or your kid, got aware of a problem that wasn't a problem at all, but was made into a problem by teachers or by doctors, with the Juvenile Arthritis Association, you see a lot of, there's a fine line, when can you exercise, and when exercise is good, but if you have an active inflammation, you shouldn't. On the other hand, you have to keep on moving because otherwise your condition deteriorates like crazy. Try to find a fine line there. But there are enough kids with juvenile arthritis that still do exercises, even go to the Paralympics. We have one girl, we actually have 3 older members of the Dutch Juvenile Arthritis Association that went to the Paralympics. Lady Gaga has a form of, she has fibromyalgia, so a form of rheumatoid arthritis. It's in that family. And sometimes you hear, oh, but if you have this, you can't, blah, 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 blah. Can't you? A friend of mine who got acute rheumatoid arthritis during her pregnancy, and she was told she can never run a marathon or never go running again. But she was this super fit girl. 3 years later, she ran a marathon. Was it completely pain-free? No. But she ran a marathon. For me, I was always told, warm weather is bad for you. You have to be careful. And with this and this and this kind of weather, you should go inside and lock yourself in. But it really depends on the circumstances. That doesn't mean that somebody with asthma won't have a problem with warm weather. But if you're used to a certain climate, and if you, like me, for instance, are a runner, it's a way different circumstance than somebody that is maybe 70 or 80 years old, or someone that has an even worse asthma condition than me, but doesn't have the physical condition to deal with it. So, next time you respond to something, or your kid responds to something, and it wasn't there before you had the diagnosis. Was it really a problem, or did they made it into a problem? Share, let me know what you think about it, and please, if you like this podcast, please share and review on Apple or YouTube. Would love for you to subscribe if you really find this podcast helpful, because it really helps me, and it's also good for my ego, but also helps other fellow special needs supermoms like you to find this podcast, and with that, hopefully get a podcast that helps them find and recharge their superpowers. That's it for now. See you next time. Bye.